Our provincial experiences with long-term care facilities have shown that when you're moving staff around from one place to another, that once again the risk for infection becomes just very, very great. And with our occasional and interim teachers working in multiple schools, I think that possibly could raise that concern as well. Once again, basing it upon the long-term care facilities, moving around from place to place. So I feel that's a concern. I'd like to know the staff's feeling on that and how we could ensure that we can reduce that problem.
Madam Chair, first of all, I don't disagree with Mr. Foley, it's Martha. In the models that we have suggested, in the elementary model, I believe that we are looking at long-term occasional teachers who would come to the school, and I think we've just looked at it from September to the end of January, for example. And I think we were thinking, and I'm just going to hazard a guess, Mr. Foley, so don't hold me to it, but I think we're thinking in the order of magnitude of approximately 65 long-term occasional teachers whom we would retain, and they would be September to January, and they would not move around from school to school for the various reasons that you're talking about. And then I do believe that in the secondary panel, with the model that Superintendent Zen was speaking about today, that the order of magnitude might be as high, and again, I don't want to be held to it, but this is just, I'm trying to answer you to the best of my knowledge, would be about 100 long-term occasional teachers, and we wouldn't have them moving from school to school for the reason that you've mentioned. I think, if my memory goes back a month or two ago, that the Premier or the Minister talked about staff being in one location. And articles I have read, and I think you have in the media, recently have talked about daily occasionals, and I think the one I read was in Toronto, but could be anywhere, having a concern for what you have just mentioned. That said, so that would take care of our needs. That said, if we have a higher than average absenteeism, and I don't mean the people who are off and teaching online for medical reasons who've identified it in the survey, but I'm talking about somebody who gets a cold or somebody who breaks their wrist, that type of thing. That would require a daily occasional. Then I think we could have the issue that you're talking about, and we would have to sort out where those people would go. I know there have been conversations about daily occasionals going to one or two schools rather than going helter-skelter all over the school board and endangering themselves, and then being in a class and bringing those indirect contacts into another class. But our first line of thinking related to keeping everybody safe and healthy is to be retaining long-term occasionals and having them in the school working with a class or two and having them there for the 4 or 5 months. That's what we were thinking of doing. Now, Trustee Foley, that's a very expensive way of doing things. So looking at how many teachers are going to be online and how many teachers are going to be there, we will have to estimate this. But it seems to me that the safest thing to do would be to have these long-term occasionals signed up for a school, and that's the only place they go. And that way we could limit, if not eliminate, the majority of the concerns that you have quite properly identified, and there have been some occasionals in other boards writing on social media. So that is what we are thinking of. We will hope to implement that plan, but you are not a dumb guy, and you can multiply, and the cost of that could increase exponentially depending on how many we retain, but that's kind of what we're thinking. LTOs, one school.
No, that's an excellent response. Safety first, not dollars. Thank you.
Yes, Trustee Foley, that's exactly it.
And I guess
which is why I said earlier that we, the board, has saved for 25 and a half years, and the unions never went after the rainy day fund. And so it's not a secret. It's in our financial statements. It's on the website. We are in a good position financially. We're not Midas, and it's not Fort Knox, Trustee Foley, but we will not be scrimping. We will be doing everything we can to keep everybody safe. And I don't want to say money's not an issue because that sounds irresponsible, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely. Thank you for your response, and I'm quite comfortable with what you said. We can implement that, then that would resolve those issues completely, or as best as possible.